Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. As we know, GM are planning on investing $35 billion for their EV and AV transition. AV is an acronym for autonomous vehicle. And Ford have announced they will invest $30 billion into their EV and AV spending. And Stellantis aren't messing around either. You guessed it. They're also going to invest $35 billion into their EV business. It's almost as if the auto cartel ran some sort of market research and discovered that $30 to $40 billion was the amount required to invest in EVs, at least to a level that their shareholders would believe they are taking the industry serious and have a chance to compete against this one company that is eating their market share. I don't really include Stellantis under the US legacy companies, as it's actually a Dutch company, but so be it. They merged with Fiat Chrysler in order to stop funding Tesla's factories with their regulatory credits. That's right, the legacy autos have it so bad, they actually had to literally fund Tesla's growth. Now, both Ford and GM tell us that they'll be leading the revolution when it comes to EVs. Yes, that is correct. That is what they're actually saying, and leading the way in battery technology. Despite a company currently leading the revolution with a market capitalization over 5 times these companies combined, a company that has been in the EV industry for close to 20 years now. But Ford and GM CEOs are telling us this. Now, if you're an investor in Ford or GM and believe this, well, I'm afraid a fool and their money are quickly parted. But sounds like you had a good run. If you can't read the writing on the wall, then you probably aren't the astute investor you thought you were. Anyway, the writing is on the wall in a massive orange glowing neon sign, if you're willing to read it. But you might suffer from cognitive dissonance, or may only be at the early stages on the Dunning-Kruger table. Tesla are going to produce close to 1 million cars in 2021. The objectives of the legacy autos is 1 million by 2025. That's their EV targets in 4 years' time, implying that they think they're only 4 years behind Tesla. And perhaps throwing over $30 billion at the issue might accelerate them somewhat. But the plan for that $30 billion or so is copying Tesla's plan from years ago. Tesla have a new plan since then. Well, even years ago they had a different plan. One of them being developing their own in-house batteries that will cost half as much per kilowatt hour compared to what the legacy auto manufacturers are going to be paying. And that's what they'll be paying in a few years when their battery factories are complete. They literally copied what Tesla did with their first gigafactory in Nevada, which was announced 6 years ago, partnering with a battery manufacturer. Oh, and they're even going with the same chemistry that Tesla and Panasonic were using all those years ago. So perhaps these new battery factories the legacy autos will have may produce battery cells on par with Tesla's 2170 batteries. However, that doesn't even mean they'll get the same range and performance as Tesla 4 years ago, as there is still the battery pack, the software, drivetrain, and motor that comes into play, not to mention things like drag coefficient. Compare Cybertruck with F-150 drag coefficiency, for example. Well, don't you think, at the pace and innovation that Tesla move, that perhaps in 4 years' time, when legacy autos have reached their ambitious target of 1 million units a year, that Tesla will be on a different trajectory from where they are today? Tesla will zig, and everyone else is going to zag. And when you take a $30 billion zag, well, that finishes you. Legacy only have one chance at failing to transition to EVs, and they're still going to blow that. They're actually going to fail at their chance to fail. That's how disastrous this is. Okay, this is all highly speculative, as we're basing it on one massive assumption. That being that these legacy autos are still even going to be around at this stage to not hit their targets. Because in the meantime, well, regulations for emissions on ICE cars, they're getting stricter, which means legacy autos actually have to put more money into R&D for their antiquated ICE vehicles, and they have to pass that cost on to the consumer. So demand is going to be dwindling for ICE cars due to the EV movement, whilst the prices of the ICE cars also rise due to emissions regulations, which means demand for ICE will fall further because the prices are rising, which means legacy autos won't have enough economies of scale to make as much profit, which means they'll have to raise their prices further, which means the only way to stay solvent would be to downsize by closing down factories and laying off workers to level out the supply to meet demand at the market clearing price. Oh, except they have unions, which make that super hard. Are you starting to see the picture now, how the legacy systems keep them stuck in their legacy ways? You know, aside from the massive technological disadvantage they also face. On top of that, legacy are also promoting the EV revolution, and spending a fortune on Super Bowl ads to show how amazing their EVs are going to be, as they're going to lead the future of the EV revolution, or at least faking it until they don't make it, as legacy will need to maintain the image that they are up there with Tesla. Their marketing department has about 30 EVs, compared to their manufacturing department that has 1 or 2. So consumers then think, oh, EVs are the future. Then I won't buy an ICE car, I will just wait until their EV cars come out, as they look so much better. So demand for ICE drops even further, until the ICE industry simply implodes, and consumers realise that if they buy an ICE car today, when it comes time to sell, who will want to buy it? It will be a total write-off, as if they didn't already depreciate fast enough. Of course, in the meantime, Tesla is stepping up their production numbers, and consumers are buying more Tesla cars, which means they're not buying cars somewhere else. Again, even less demand for legacy and ICE. The entire demand for ICE cars is going to shrivel up. Oh dear, but legacy autos have just taken on all that $30 billion of extra debt. Well, money isn't free, and it's also not lent out indefinitely. These debts need to be paid back. In other words, a massive amount of extra expense on top of a failing ICE business that is likely also now costing money just to keep the lights on. In steps the government to save the day, and here is where we get the big, massive bailouts with the too big to fail rhetoric. Taxpayers fund the saviour of these big, large corporations once again. Except this time, well, it's not going to make any difference. What would they even do with the money? Keep making ICE cars that no one is buying? Where are they even going to store them all? Oh, wait, they could use the money to convert the existing factories to EVs and retrain all the staff they have to make EVs. Oh, but GM make about 7 million cars a year, and by 2025, they're hoping to have enough batteries to make just 1 million EVs. How will they get enough batteries for 7 million EVs? Oh, and they might implode much sooner than 2025. It's about exponentials. The math here is not particularly difficult. They cannot be saved for any amount of money. I use the example of it would be like bailing out Kodak to keep making camera film when everyone else is using digital cameras. There'll still be no buyers for film or ICE autos. The scary thing is, they may throw hundreds of billions of dollars at it first, starting with EV tax credits. These legacy autos EVs, well, they simply cost too much to manufacture, so governments start by helping them, by offering enormous tax credits to any customers that buy their EVs. So that's great. Government have helped get their prices down low enough that now they have some demand for their cars. But that doesn't help them with supply. They won't be able to even meet demand. Meanwhile, this tax incentive has really just incentivized people to not buy ICE cars. So demand for the ICE cars dwindles that much faster. Oh, on top of that, the tax credit will likely also be applicable to Tesla. Perhaps not as much credit, but Teslas were significantly better value to start with, and are really the only EV most consumers actually want. Oh, and Tesla saw this coming a long time ago, so they prepared, and will hopefully actually be able to have a reasonable amount of supply to meet this insane amount of demand, hence the enormous factory in Texas, and their own in-house battery production, along with publicly stating that they will order every single battery every other battery manufacturer can produce. But like I said, this math is not hard, especially when you have a team of executives with all sorts of analysts explaining it all to you, like the legacy autos do. So what's the point of investing all that money into a sinking ship? They will all be ruined. They will lose their jobs, lose their stock options, and more. But wait, perhaps they can convince the government enough to bail them out of it. If they can get a cash injection of tens of billions of dollars or so, and come up with a bogus econometrics model that shows the UAW that they can transition and save everyone's jobs, and it will only cost $100 billion, whereas the cost of the job losses to the economy would have an adverse effect of over $1 trillion, then perhaps they will get a bailout. Now the executives know they're all going to lose their jobs, but with a bailout, they may have tens of billions of dollars in the bank at least. And the narrative that they worked out how to save everyone's job with the econometrics model, well, that's great work they've done, and need a good pat on the back, perhaps in the region of a $10 million bonus each, or maybe more. They might need some golden parachutes too, as they might even bail out early, leave this sinking ship that can't be saved and enjoy their retirement somewhere nice. Or at least until they have their public hearing with Congress and go through the same process, where they're asked questions about all their involvement in these activities and they simply reply, "I cannot recall that event." Then they go back to St. Martin or Barbados and enjoy the rest of their life in the sun. Where have we heard this one before? It all sounds very familiar. Oh, right, the banks with the global financial crisis, when they gave themselves all these great bonuses rather than using the bailout money to support people losing their homes from the property crash. But wait, we talk about the debt that legacy autos will incur from building their EV business, or attempting to. Although I'm still not sure where those tens of billions of dollars to invest will even go, Tesla haven't spent close to that, and their capacity will soon be closer to 5 million, not 1 million. But anyway, a lot of legacy autos have debts in excess of $100 billion already. Yes, I'm sure you've heard about this before, but most people fail to mention that this debt is actually carried by some collateral, aside from the company assets. This debt is against the cars the legacy companies have sold. Customers who have financed cars from them in the past, well, the auto companies borrow the money to pay for the production of these cars, then give these cars to their customers after a small deposit, and then charge these customers a higher interest rate than they're charged. Then legacy autos make a profit on these loans. This is actually a large part of where their profits are derived. That and the parts business. There is very little profit on the actual sale of the car, as the industry is so saturated, especially when you have to leave some for the car dealer too. But what's happening to this collateral? Didn't we decide that ICE vehicles are going to drop in value and depreciate much faster than usual? And we're talking about around $100 billion of debt here, or even more in some cases. Well, there'll be a lot of consumers that will no longer want to keep paying for a car that is now worth significantly less than is owing on it. For example, if they bought a car for $40,000 and they still owe $30,000 of debt on it, but they'd be lucky to sell it for $10,000. On top of that, suddenly they can buy a Tesla for only $30,000 with this tax credit. We've previously explored all the reasons why ICE cars will plummet in value. And this could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Well, actually, this is pretty significant. Perhaps it'll be the £1,000 anvil that breaks the camel's back, and every other associated bone along the way. It could potentially implode so fast, maybe there'll be no time to even pretend to save them. Is there even any point in saving a company that even the government realises beyond saving? If you can't save them, then the lobbyists won't be around anymore either. Perhaps even the politicians will try and take a popular stand and say, we will use the taxpayers' money to help transition the workers who've lost their jobs into new careers, compared to the usual cronyism corporate bailouts. Is that believable, or perhaps I have my idealist hat on today? We can make a difference and tell our local representatives. At the end of the day, they're serving their self-interest and want to be re-elected too. But if 1 million people lost their jobs, then $100 million would be enough to give them each $100,000. To put it in perspective, what will start the collapse will be hard to say, considering how many potential events there are. If consumers start working out any ICE car they buy now might be a write-off in a few years, then that could start the process. Or will it be that Tesla are able to supply so many EVs that they're eating up a larger market share from others? Perhaps a Cybertruck will destroy Ford F-150's business, rendering them bankrupt even sooner. It's a game of dominoes. We're just waiting to see what event will knock over the first block. Of course, governments offering huge tax incentives might be like pouring gasoline on the fire of the ICE industry going down in flames. The problem is the only competition left will be China. Or will it? We'll go into depth on Chinese EVs eventually. Anyway, I think we all need to get ourselves some big bags of popcorn to watch how all this plays out. It's going to be a disaster on epic proportions. I might even buy some put options when I feel the time is right. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.